Shalom family, this is yet again your boy, Jonathan Hebrew Prince, and I'm coming to you on this Shabbat day, this Sabbath day, this beautiful day that Hawaii has made, and let us rejoice and be glad in it, for his love, his peace, his patience, his kindness, his strength, his wisdom endures to all generations. Hallel Hawaii, Hallel Hawaii, Hallel Hawaii. First and foremost, just want to say Sagi Ahab, much love to Drop Nation, to my family, to my brothers and my sisters out there putting out this truth constantly. Much love to you. How you have inspired me to continue on my journey as well. How we've all come along and how we are communicating, how we are tribing up and vibing up, and we enhancing our frequencies to make sure that we choose up and that we give all our honor, that we give all of our members of our body, our spirits, our frequency, and our vibrations to the Most High Hawaii. Hallel Hawaii. And to those of you who are out there looking for some edification, asking questions, trying to figure this thing out, I just want to hear something a little different than the normal Sunday sermon. Well, you came to the right place. Much Ahab to all the subscribers. Appreciate you for just tarrying with me and tabernacling with me for a minute and just riding with your boy on this journey, for we are journeying together. I always say that I don't have any monopoly on truth. I don't know it all, but I'm gonna give you what I have. I'm gonna give you what I see, and we can collaborate together, whether it be in a debate, whether it be a discussion, whether it be just us trying to come together and come to some consensus and trying to seek out a matter like kings and queens do. I'm all about it. So much love to everyone who's just taking time out of their busy schedule to listen to my voice and just ride with me on some of this information that the Most High has allowed me to wake up and see. Now, without further ado, I want to get into again another issue that we're having as a people regarding the religions of the world, and Christianity being that of my main focus. And what I want to talk about today is a major contradiction between the so-called Old Testament and the so-called New Testament. And the contradiction specifically that I want to attack is going to be found in Jeremiah chapter 31, Hebrews chapter 8, Matthew chapter 26, and Mark chapter 14. And we're going to deal with this. We're going to take our time, hopefully not too long, but we will take our time, and we will dive down these avenues, and we're going to ask some pertinent questions. We're going to answer some other questions, and then we're going to leave up some things for debate and see how we can come together and collaborate on this avenue. But when I'm finished today, it will definitely give you something to think about. As you see on the screen, you see the word gospel from the Etymological Dictionary online. And I've covered this time and time again. And I'm going to cover it one more time. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this. It says, Old English, God spell, glad tidings announced by Jesus, one of the four gospels. Literally, good spell. And if you check out my other video that's also dealing with stop dealing with Christianity, and it's time to get out of Christianity for truth, you'll know that I went significantly into the etymology of spell. So I'm not going to do that today. Put the link down below. You'll be able to check that out and check my other video as well. But we talking about a spell, family. And why this is so important is because when we're dealing with the spell, if it's not broken, would have you in a state of confusion. It actually will have you in a state of bliss. It's like they say, ignorance is bliss. Because you're blissfully in a state of ignorance, not realizing that you're being sabotaged day in and day out because of the spell. Now, what I want to talk about specifically is this covenant. Jesus, Yahushua, Yahushua claimed that his blood when he died on that cross, so-called died on that cross, suffered, bled, died, 3 days later, he rose, as the so-called New Testament states. Well, that blood was supposed to be the new covenant, or the renewed covenant. Now we have to investigate that a little bit further, family, because there's a major contradiction between what the so-called Old Testament and what the so-called New Testament considers a renewed covenant. So we're going to have to go where the evidence lies. And wherever that leads us, that's going to be the conclusion of the matter. We're not going to over spiritualize it. We're not going to sing a whole bunch of songs and collect some tithes and get emotional about it. We're just going to see what it says. So let's take a quick gander at it. First thing we want to do is we want to slide into what is a covenant? What is the etymology of a covenant? I'm not going to deal with the verb aspect because we're talking about a covenant as a noun. So because of that part of speech being a noun, we're going to deal with that part of speech of the covenant being a noun. If you would like to see what a verb part of the covenant is, be my guest. You can I put the link below. You can read that on your own. But the one that applies to this topic is going to be the noun fashion of the covenant. And it reads as thus. We're talking about the 1300s here. From Old English, covenant, which means agreement, right? Originally, present participle of covenere, agree, meet. From Latin, covenere, come together, unite, be suitable, agree. From come, which is together, see come, venere, to come, from a suffix from the pi root. Now we're going to try that. To go, come, applied in scripture to God's agreements with man as a translation of Latin testamentur, Greek diatheke, both rendering Hebrew berith, though testament also is used for the same word in different places. That's what the screen says. That's what we're looking at. We're talking about an agreement. Now, I would like to give you some further definition regarding covenant as well. And this is going to come out what is called the Scriptures Institute for Scripture Research. And in the back of it, they have what is called notes, explanatory notes. And according to this piece of work, it says covenant. The Hebrew word berith means covenant, agreement, or contract. The Hebrew word berith has been represented in Greek copies of the Messianic writings as diathete, and that's right here on the screen. Where is it? Right there. So we're talking about this. This is a word which can carry the meaning of both covenant or testament. Clearly, the word didatheke was meant to carry the Hebraic meaning of covenant rather than testament. Dr. Bullinger, in the Companion Bible, Appendix 95, wrote, quote, the word testament as a translation of the Greek word diathete, which means covenant, has been nothing less than a great calamity. For by its use, truth has been effectively veiled all through the centuries, causing a wrong turning to be taken. Errors of tradition have usurped the place of important truth. The word testament as a name for a collection of books is unknown to Scripture. It comes to us through the Latin Vulgate. End quote. That's important, family. That's very important to comprehend where these words come from. I'm definitely gonna do a video about the trickery of words. especially here in this English language, and how the translators chose what they're going to promulgate as opposed to educate using factual truth. But that's getting off in a tangent. Covenant. We're going to deal with the basis of covenant right now, meaning agreement. Two parties coming together. You have to have two parties. You can't covenant by yourself. You're going to make a covenant. It's two parties or more coming together saying we're going to do blah. So when we're dealing with the renewed covenant, family, we have Jesus that's saying his blood is the renewed covenant. Okay? As a matter of fact, why talk about it? Let's get to these scriptures. Now, we're going to deal first and foremost with Matthew. Okay? Let's go to Matthew. We're talking about Matthew chapter 26. And we're going to go to verse 26. And this is what it says. It says, and as they were eating, Jesus, Yahushua, took bread and having blessed, broke and gave it to the taught ones and said, take, eat, this is my body. And taking the cup and giving thanks, he gave it to them, saying, drink from it, all of you, for this is my blood, that of the renewed covenant, which is shed for many for the forgiveness of sins. So this is not something we have to interpret. He is claiming that his blood is the renewed covenant. That's what we're seeing in the scriptures. Just in case we need a fact check, let's go to Mark. So we're going to deal with Mark, which is your next book over. And we're going to deal with chapter 14. And we're going to slide on down to verse 22. And according to this good spell or gospel, you have in verse 22 it says, and they were eating. Yahushua, Jesus, Yeshua, Yehoshua took bread, having blessed, broke it, gave it to them and said, take, eat, this is my body. And taking the cup, giving thanks, he gave it to them, and they all drank from it. And he said to them, this is my blood, that of the renewed covenant, which is shed for many. So now we see it again. Just in case we having an issue believing what we seeing, we're going to do a tertiary check. Let's slide on into 1 Corinthians. And we're going to go to chapter 11. And we're going to deal with verse 23. Starting at 23. Now we're talking about the Apostle Paul here. And this is what he says. He says in verse 23, for I received from the master that which I also delivered to you, that the master, Yahushua, Yeshua, Jesus, in the night in which he was delivered up, took bread. And having given thanks, he broke it and said, take, eat, this is my body which is broken for you. Do this in remembrance of me. In the same way also the cup after supper, saying, this cup is the renewed covenant in my blood. As oft as ye drink it, do this in remembrance of me. So now we have Jesus, Yahushua, Yeshua, whatever name we want to put on this individual. You have him talking about himself, that he is the new renewed covenant. That's his blood, the renewed covenant. Right? That's what we have him saying. Now, Then we turn around and we have the Apostle Paul saying the same thing, reaffirming that his blood was supposed to be the renewed covenant. So now, family, let's go look at the renewed covenant, what it was supposed to be and why that's an issue, what he's talking about here. So now we're going to deal with Jeremiah. And we're going to slide down to we're going to deal with chapter 31. Right? We're going to deal with chapter 31. Starting at verse 31. And we're going to read through. And then we're going to ask some questions. Here we go. It says, see, the days are coming, declares Yahweh, when I shall make a renewed covenant. Now, we just read, according to the so-called New Testament, that the renewed covenant is that of the blood of this so-called Messiah. Right? That's what we just read. Now you looking at what the prophet, our ancestor, that's why it's important to know who you are and whose you are. Now we're talking about our ancestor and what he is saying, according to the Most High Yahweh, what is supposed to detail the renewed covenant. So let's read. See, the days are coming, declares Yahweh, when I shall make a renewed covenant. He didn't say Jesus. He didn't say his son. He said when he will make the renewed covenant with the house of who? Yisrael, and with the house of Yehudah. He gonna make a renewed covenant with everybody? No, that is not what it said here. He said Yisrael and Yehudah. That's who he's making the renewed covenant with. Not like the covenant I made with their fathers in the day when I strengthened in their hand to bring them out of the land of Mitzrayim. My covenant which they broke. And we're going to show you what the covenant was. Though I was a husband to them, declares Yahweh. Now he's going to tell you what the covenant is. What this renewed one going to be. For this is the covenant I shall make with the house of Yisrael after those days. He's saying again with Israel. Yisrael, that's who he's going to make it with, the descendants of Jacob. I'm not making this up. I didn't write this. This is what it says. I being Yahweh, shall make with the house of Yisrael after those days, declares Yahweh. I shall put my Torah in their inward parts and write it on their hearts, and I shall be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. He didn't say nothing about his son. He didn't say anything about no begotten son. He didn't say nothing about nobody dying. None of that. He didn't say that. He specifically said what he's going to do and how he's going to do it and what it's going to be called. A covenant not made with the ones that he made previously with our forefathers, but the new one, the renewed one rather, will be the one where he puts the Torah in our inward parts and write it on our hearts. Not no new laws or nothing like that. That of the Torah. And he says, I, not my son, not no Malaks, not no angels, not no demons, not nothing. He said he will be our Elohim, and we, or they being we, shall be his people. Period. And then look what he says. And this is where I start having issues big time. And no longer shall they teach. Teach what? Each one his neighbor and each one his brother, saying, know Yahweh. For they shall all know me, from the least of them to the greatest of them, declares Yahweh. Stop. If this Christ Messiah figure is the new covenant, the renewed covenant, as we saw stated 3 times, in Matthew's, Mark, and 1 Corinthians, then why am I on YouTube right now having a discussion with you, trying to get you to know Hawaii? Why do we still have debates about the name of the Father? Why do we still have debates about who the Messiah is, when he's going to get here, how he looks, how old he is, what happened to the rest of his life? Where's the recording of it? What happened to the books of the Bible? Why they not in there? Who took them out? How did the times and days change? When is the Sabbath? When are we supposed to worship? Why are we still having these discussions if it specifically states, and no longer shall they teach each one his neighbor and each one his brother, saying, know Hawaii, for they shall all know me? That means we should not be having this discussion, because you should know, I should know, everybody should know who Hawaii is. Apparently everybody does not today. And he did this 2,000 years ago, so-called died. And he so-called had this last supper, this dinner with these so-called apostles, these so-called prophets, or whatever they were supposed to be, his disciples, his taught ones. This is supposed to have happened over 2,000 years ago, and we still debate. We still trying to figure it out. We still unearthing truths. We're still finding facts. We're still unearthing artifacts. We're still looking at archaeology. We're still trying to find where science is placed in this particular situation. We're still dealing with all of this information, but we're not supposed to be, according to the prophet Jeremiah. He said when the renewed covenant will be established, that which Jesus claimed he is, Yahweh Shai claimed he is, Yahushua, Yahushua, whichever name you subscribe to for this Messiah so-called, he said he's the new covenant. So why are we still talking? Why we still got groups on YouTube talking about contradictions and Christians and atheists and agnostic? Why are we still dealing with this? That's the issue. Ask the question. Then it says, for I shall forgive their crookedness and remember their sin no more. Where the death at? Where the blood at? Where the 3 days at? Where are those fundamental renewed covenant theories in this passage of scripture? Because if he's claiming to be the renewed covenant, he claiming his blood is the renewed covenant, then surely the prophet Jeremiah would have saw that when speaking on behalf indirectly from Hawaii himself, the Father, the creator, the framer, the shaper. Certainly that would have been inputted in this passage, so that we would know that we know that the death, burial, and resurrection was supposed to be real, that his son was supposed to spill blood. He would have put that. He would have had to, right? So that we could 100% unequivocally recognize the renewed covenant. But that's not in here. He just said, Hawaii said, I will forgive their crookedness. He didn't say I'm gonna send nobody to do nothing. He said, I'm going to forgive their crookedness and remember their sin no more. Let's keep reading. He says, thus says Hawaii, not the prophet, not nobody else, not no angel, not no malak. We're talking about the Most High himself speaking through the prophet. Who gives the sun for a light by day, and the laws of the moons and the stars for a light by night? Who stirs up the seas and his waves roar? Hawaii of hosts, or Hawaii Sabaoth in the Hebrew, is his name. If these laws vanquish from before me, declares Hawaii, then the seed of Israel shall also cease from being a nation before me forever. So the day that the laws are no longer relevant, vanquished means disappear, they're done, they're gone. That's the day that the seed of Yisrael shall also cease from being a nation before me. That's what the Most High himself said. Thus says Hawaii, if the heavens above could be measured, which no man can do right now, and the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, that's so much part of the earth that we will never have the opportunity or the ability to search out and seek and find. We can't even get to the deepest part of the waters on this earth right now, can we? They trying. Can't do it. He said, I would also cast off all the seed of Israel from all that they have done, declares Hawa. This is what he just said. See, the days are coming, declares Hawa, that the city shall be built for Hawa from the tower of Haniel to the corner gate. And the measuring line shall again extend straight ahead to the hill Gareb. Then it shall turn toward Goa and all the valley of the dead bodies and of the ashes and all the fields as far as the Wadi Quadron to the corner of the house gate, of the horse gate rather, toward the east, is to be set apart to Hawa. It shall not be plucked up or thrown down any more forever. Now, that's what Hawa is saying to the prophet Jeremiah to tell to the nation of Yisrael and Yehuda. Remember, they were separated at the time. 10 tribes to the north, 2 to the south. But the entire nation he's speaking to about this renewed covenant. And then he goes in detail on how this new city is supposed to get built. And you trying to tell me that he can go that deep and give you the intricate details of how the city was going to be from what hill to what measuring and all that, but can't tell you what the renewed covenant going to be? Just arbitrarily forgot to put the blood of the so-called Messiah, his son, into this renewed covenant? I beg to differ. I submit to the conclusion that he didn't forget anything, but that there's a contradiction and that this so-called New Testament, this so-called renewed covenant is a fake, a fraud, a phony, because they're not lining up. You got to choose one, but they both don't correlate together, and that's real talk. Unless you Christianize it, over spiritualize it, and make yourself sleep to make it work. You literally have to try hard to make oil and water mix. And even when the oil in the water is showing you it don't mix, you got to fully convince yourself and put yourself to sleep saying it's actually mixing. We just can't see it with the physical eye. That's the situation you got going on between what the prophet Jeremiah said the renewed covenant is going to be versus what this so-called Jesus Messiah, these gospels, these good spells, and this doggone false apostle Paul said the renewed covenant is going to be. So what's the covenant? What was the covenant made with our fathers in the first place? Let's go back. We're going to deal with Exodus. This is why these so-called churches, these so-called places of worship, try to keep you out the so-called Old Testament. Try to keep us out this Torah. Try to keep us out this Tanakh. Because the Torah and the Tanakh would destroy the New Testament, this so-called New Testament, this so-called renewed covenant. Let's go down. Let's start at verse 1. It says, in the third new moon, after the children of Israel had come out of the land of Mitzrayim, on this day they came to the wilderness of Sinai, for they set out from Rephidim, and had come to the wilderness of Sinai and camped in the wilderness. So Israel camped there before the mountain, and Moshe went up to Elohim, and Hawa called to him from the mountain, saying, this is what you ought to say to the house of Yaakov, and declare to the children of Israel. You have seen what I did to the Mitzrites, and how I bore you on eagle wings and brought you to myself. He did it, and he did it. And now, if you diligently obey my voice and shall guard my covenant, then you shall be my treasured possession above all the peoples, for all the earth is mine. And you shall be to me a reign of priests and a set apart nation. Those are the words which you are to speak to the children of Israel. And Moshe came and called for the elders of the people and set before them all these words which Yahweh commanded him. And all the people answered together and said, listen to what our forefathers said. All that Yahweh has spoken, we shall do. So Moshe brought back the words of the people to Yahweh. After we said this, then the covenant is laid out. If you read from chapter 19, finishing here, starting here, and you go all the way to chapter 24, you will see all the words of the covenant. How do we know this? Let's slide real smooth into chapter 24. And we're going to start at verse 1. And to Moshe he said, come up to Yahweh, you and Ahab, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and you shall bow yourselves from a distance. But Moshe shall draw near to Yahweh by himself, and let them not draw near, nor let the people go up with him. And Moshe came and related to the people all the words of Yahweh and all the right rulings. And all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which Yahweh has spoken, we shall do. And Moshe wrote down all the words of Yahweh, and rose up early in the morning and built a slaughter place at the foot of the mountain, and 12 standing columns for the 12 tribes of Israel. So far, family, we ain't dealt with no other nation but Israel. That's it. Just the descendants of Yaakov. This is all we dealing with right now, family.
With the renewed covenant is for everybody, and it's for all people of the earth.
That ain't what these scriptures saying.
Because God loves everybody, and everybody is in the covenant of Israel, because it's a spiritual Israel, family. It's a spiritual Israel.
Where that's at? That ain't in here. He talking to the nation of Israel. Now, there's a passage of scripture where he does talk to the Gentile nations, or the people that's not of the stock of Israel, giving them too a promise. That's found in the book of Isaiah, but that's not what we're dealing with right here, family. We talking about this covenant. And so when we deal with this covenant, we got to talk about it in perspective, in proper perspective, in context. We'll deal with the Gentile nations and the nations that are or what is called other peoples in some words. We're going to deal with their ability to be able to choose up, because everybody can choose up. Let me put that disclaimer out there. Everybody can choose up, but when you're talking about certain aspects, you have to put things in its proper context. Right now, we're dealing with the covenant, this so-called renewed covenant. That's what we're dealing with. And the only nation we're dealing with right now, by what we're reading, is Yisrael. That's it. The descendants of Jacob. He telling you that in many ways. He said Jacob, he says Israel, he says Yehuda. That's what he says. You got an issue with that? I'm sorry. You got to go talk to the author. That ain't me. I'm just the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. I just hope you get the message. Now, it says verse 4, and Moshe wrote down all the words of Yahweh, and rose up early in the morning and built a slaughter place at the foot of the mountain, and 12 standing columns for the 12 tribes of Israel. And he sent young men of the children of Israel, and they offered ascending offerings and slaughterings of peace offerings to Yahweh of bulls. All right. And Moshe took half the blood and put it in basins, and half the blood he sprinkled on the slaughter place. And he took the book of the covenant and read in the hearing of the people. So he opens up this novel, he opens up this work, and he reads it to the people. And they said, this the covenant. Remember, it's an agreement. We're talking about two parties coming together, agreeing on something. This is the agreement, the book of the covenant. Chapter 19 to chapter 24 of the book of Shemos called Exodus. Now he reads it out loud. And the people said, all that Yahweh has spoken, we shall do and obey. That's the covenant. and to solidify the covenant, to put the covenant in play officially. Verse 8, and Moshe took the blood and sprinkled it on the people and said, see the blood of the covenant which Yahweh has made with you concerning all these words. That's the covenant, family. Now, as you continue to go on, this is before Moshe ever went into the mountain. He didn't go into the mountain yet for 40 days at all. Later on, you see he goes into the mountain. What does the people do immediately? Break the covenant. Because the covenant was to obey the commands. It was to not build idols. It was to not harm one another. It was to not put any Elohim before him. None of it. That was the covenant. Not 40 days in, he goes up and the children break it. Our forefathers. So the renewed covenant that the Most High is going to give us, according to our prophet Jeremiah, was that instead of putting it on tables of stone, he's going to put it on the table of our heart. The same Torah. And he will put it in our inward parts. And then there will be no more need for me or anybody. There'll be no more need for Drop Nation. There'll be no more need for seekers of truth to tell the rest of the world about Hawa. Because the entire world would know Hawa. That's the whole point. That the entire earth will know. All nations will know the Most High Hawa. There will be no need for us to be propagating anything to anybody. There'll be no need for me to be debating you, those of you who are still in Christendom. There'll be no need for me to debate you. There'll be no need for you to debate me, because you and I both will know Hawa. We will know Hawa. There'll be no need for us to study, because we would know him. There'll be no need to search for his name. We would already know it. So how is this Messiah, Jesus, Yahushua, Yahushua, whatever? How is he the Messiah? How is he the renewed covenant? How is his blood the renewed covenant? And we still talking. We still talking. We still having this conversation. I submit the conclusion that he's not it. He will heal this. Let's go back to Jeremiah. Let's go to chapter 31. Because something that's supposed to happen has not happened. Let's look at it. Verse 34. For I shall forgive their crookedness and remember their sin no more. For I shall forgive their crookedness and remember their sin no more. All of us will know him, and we all don't. We still dealing with our sins. We're still dealing with our crookedness. But according to the so-called New Testament, this so-called Messiah is supposed to have taken care of this. But yet and still, I'm up early on a Shabbat morning, talking to individuals, hoping that individuals, pleading to individuals, that all of you who are in Christendom or any other religion, any other box, any other piece of bondage, psychological bondage that you're in, pleading that you turn to the Most High Hawaii and choose up. Drop Nation is pleading to the people, to those of you who are still stuck in the rut. Drop Nation is pleading to every person in Drop Nation. Everyone is pleading out to you, saying, choose Hawaii. Learn your history. Know who you are. Know whose you are. Know your land. This is the message of Drop Nation. Eat right. Intake the proper water. Leave the chemicals alone. Unplug from the matrix. Vibe up. Tribe up. Get in tune with your Drakan. Find the priest king. I submit to the conclusion that the day when the renewed covenant is established, truly by the Most High, not this falsified garbage that is being propagated to us, but the true, factual, renewed covenant by the Most High. That'd be the day that we find the priest king. That's the day we will know Hawa. That's the day we get our Drakans back. That's the day that our vibration, our frequency is pure. Why? Because he will forgive our crookedness and remember our sin no more. I love you, family. Much Ahab to you. Much love, Sagi Ahab. I hope this message edifies you. It's all out of Ahab. Peace, power, and Ahab. Shalom.